Hello to the two fans and welcome. This is Chicago Ted coming to you with another replay cast. This one's going to be replay ID number 19956502266. So thank you very much for sending in this replay. I greatly appreciate it and I hope you enjoy. So looking at this time, this map, it is going to be for the Dire Pico on the Ogre Magi. Hammer is going to be playing the Wind Ranger with Arukune on the Lion. We've got JG playing the Lich, and Smoke of Deceit is going to be on the Winter Wyvern. Meanwhile, for the Radiant, it's Apao on the Shadow Fiend with Ken. That looks like Ken. I know it's Krillic, not Ken, but it looks like Ken, so I'm going to call it Ken. He's going to be on the Viper. We've got, oh my god, I'll just call him Mac. He's going to be playing the Bounty Hunter, getting stunned by Pico, but we won't worry about that too much. RHCP, there's one I can say. He's going to be on the Slark, with Cortus finally playing the Vengeful Spirit. So, at the time of me casting this replay, the new update has been dropped. So forgive me if I screw something up because this is on the older update, but I hope that I will not mess anything up. Some of the key things here, that the map is actually still the same as the old map, so that's very nice. At least it doesn't screw things up like that. Anyway, this top lane is going to be pretty decent for Dire. It looks like they got a lot of defensive capabilities here. You can see already they're putting the hurt on this Bounty Hunter, but with the invisibility, he should just be able to walk away. It doesn't seem like they've got any sentry wards. They do have an observer from Smoke of Deceit, but nothing much more. Ken, though, is just going to lay down the law with a couple of Viper Strikes or Veno Strikes or Poison Attacks. I knew it was some generic name, but whatever the case, he's doing a fair amount of damage with that. So, again, this Dire tri-lane should be pretty simple, pretty straightforward. They're going to get a lot of farm on whoever their carry is. I'm guessing Pico. With these three really aggressive supports, but I don't think they'll be able to just bully Ken out of the lane, at least not yet. Probably when they hit about level 3, we start to see their spells get a little bit more powerful. That's when Viper's going to have a little bit of trouble. In the mid, it's a Lion against a Shadow Fiend. Now this is a matchup that we don't see nearly ever because Lion isn't typically played in the mid, but actually, this is like a 5 support lineup with Hammer being the only exception. Okay. But Arukune is actually not going to have that tough of a time going up against a POW. I mean, when you consider what Lion does as a hero, he's very bursty. So a POW having a pretty awful amount of starting HP. We're looking at him having 600 HP. Say Lion had Finger of Death up right now, you can see it'd probably do a little over 3/4 of his HP. So that, all things considered, that is scary, scary stuff. And you've also got an Earth Spike on top of it, which does additional magic burst. I mean, this is a really good matchup for Lion. Once he hits level 6, it's going to be a lot of difficulty from a POW. But until then, I'm seeing the Shadow Fiend. He's actually getting away with a couple of easy last hits. And Arukune, even though he's ahead on the CS, which is surprising to say the least, it's going to start favoring a POW a little bit until we hit that kind of turning point of power. We can see since Rambling that the Observer Ward on the top lane has been dewarded by the Dire. Meanwhile, RHCP and Cortus are doing an adequate job at keeping Hammer back. 3 last hits, 2 denies up against RHCP's 13 and 3. So, yeah, this Slark is really getting away with a lot of murder here. Pico, speaking of getting away, he went for a very aggressive walk, meanders through the river up into the top lane, walks through 2 pretty aggressive offlaners, and gets away almost scot-free. I mean, his just absurdly high base regen, which did get buffed in the new patch, by the way. But his absurd base HP regen is going to get him back up to full in little to no time at all. And you can see we just take a little bit of a harass from the Viper, and he's getting right back up again. I mean, he's nearly out-regenning. Okay, no, not nearly. He's actually quite a ways off, but still, he's regenning very quickly, and with that Tango, it's just, you do no damage to him. He'll shrug it off, and no more harm will come of it. In fact, what is this? A Soul Ring. Okay, give him more HP regen. Why not, right? Also being able to cast all of his spells at any given point in time, that's a pretty good perk. So Arakune will get the bottom rune and Illusion Rune, which is terrible for Lion for all things aside from perhaps stacking the jungle. Pico will snipe the bounty rune up at the top though, leaving Mr. Apao out in the dry. So not looking too great so far. I mean, Radiant obviously pulling ahead on their bottom lanes, but every single other lane seems to be favoring the Dire pretty heavily. Speaking of favoring the Dire, Arakune getting very aggressive onto Apao, but it looks like he's not going to be able to go much further. Only level 5 to Apao's also level 5. Actually, Apao's pulling ahead in the experience. Believe it or not, looks like he got just a little bit of extra time in the lane. That, or actually no, he just has an extra wave. Never mind. Not that big of a lead. But 4.5 minutes, still no first blood, despite this being a very aggressive lane from the Dire and pretty much 2 of the 3 lanes. So I'm looking for at least his top lane to maybe house the first blood, unless Lion gets level 6 and then perhaps in the mid. But the bottom, I don't know if you're going to be able to get the kill on the Wind Ranger. Even if you shackle her up with the pounce from RHCP, he's just going to pop Wind Run and you can't do any damage while he's pounced, then he walks away. Of course, I mean, stacking your stuns correctly might mitigate that, but we'll have to see. I honestly think now with his Finger of Death, we have to keep a stark eye on the mid. In fact, he could probably yeah! No, he can definitely just one-shot Apao, and he's gonna go for it! Didn't even need the Earth Spike, but he uses it anyway. Easy kill for Arakune. First blood for the Lion. And oh boy, that is not good. You can't lose like that for a Shadow Fiend, especially when you've got no stacks in your own jungle. This is going to be a little bit of trouble for this Shadow Fiend and for the Radiant in general. We're looking at a hero who, okay, this isn't 6.86, so he doesn't have the lens, the arcane lens, to make it impossible to deal with him. But it's going to be pretty damn hard dealing with an overfarmed Lion. Bounty Hunter dropping pretty low to the Ignite. The burning garbage, and now he might see a little bit more. Pico is trying to get in position. Had a Fire Blast to spend, but just couldn't quite connect on it. Meanwhile, Ken is doing a little bit of backwards harass on the Pico, but yep, there you go. Base HP regen plus Cold Embrace equals an Ogre Magi who is pretty much back at full. Meanwhile, Arakune, he's going to have a little bit of time before the Finger of Death is back off cooldown, but the amount of dominance he got from that one kill is starting to dwindle as, once again, Shadow Fiend doing Shadow Fiend things can easily push out the wave, get a lot of experience from that. And he should be able to go right back to the jungle if need be, but Arakune getting the invisibility rune, pops his bottle, activates that, and is now making his way onto RHCP. Now this is a Slark with no level 6, no way to get away from this if the Earth Spike connects. Oh boy, they're going to initiate onto Hammer. Hammer's going to die. Maybe they can get a backwards or counter initiation. Arakune actually should get this kill. The level 6, but he doesn't have mana. Arakune is now going to turn, but it looks like he should be dead. Needs to bottle up. Will do so. Goes into the trees. Turns around for an Earth Spike. 2 more right clicks, and he's got it. He'll get a double on the bottom lane. That should not have happened, but I guess the Wind Ranger taking one for the team. Same thing with Smoke of Deceit on the Wyvern. We'll just go ahead and fast forward right through this pause. Are they going to repause? Yes, they are, because that was a BM unpause. There we go. So we're resuming this game. Don't you love casting replays where you can just go right past the pauses? I love it. One of the main perks of actually casting replays. A lot better than back a couple patches ago where, not patches, but updates ago, where the pause would crash the game and you had to sit through every single one of them, ended up having to cut them out by hand, which is always fun. Cortus in a little bit of trouble. He actually rotated from the bottom lane to make his way up here, only to see aggression the moment he sets foot in the lane. Apao's going to try to look for a return, but can't get the second raise on the Pico. In fact, it misses barely. They will still get JG. Arakune's now in. He'll find one. On the dominating spree, are you looking for Apao, but can't seem to get it? Oh, wait, no, Apao, he's hanging in close. We'll go in for the raise combo, but Arakune's just a little bit too tanky. Needs the Earth Spike, but it misses! No, in fact, no, he goes for Ken. Never mind. Arakune's still alive, just barely. Looks like he will finally go down, but A splitter shot from Smoke of Deceit will get a kill. Maybe a second. A pow wiggle down. Smoke of Deceit with a second one. And now Ken looking for the return. But with a Cold Embrace keeps him from being able to attack. And with that Fire Blast, actually Ken is now invisible. Interesting item builds for him. Going for that Shadow Blade, it seems. Not a huge fan of the item, but hey, if it protects you once, then I guess the investment is starting to pay off, right? Meanwhile, Mac will turn around looking for some sort of initiation, but it's a lowly bounty hunter. What's he going to do? Actually, Winter's Curse now out on a Cortis. Not going to accomplish much as Smoke of Deceit and Pico will just turn around and walk away. JG wants part of the action. But what's he going to find? He'll find Cortis, but not much more. Goes for the chase. Isn't going to find a kill here. In fact, he might actually be setting himself up for disaster, but looks like he won't chase any further, and that'll be the end of what happens in the top lane. Where is Arakuna nowadays? He went back to the mid, looking to farm up. And a Pow? Okay, he's got himself a double damage rune. This is trouble for Arakune. I don't think a Pow is going to get a kill off this one, but it just secures some last hits for him. Arakune and Mac will kind of stare at each other for a second, reach an understanding, and walk right back to their respective lanes. Meanwhile, RHCP, 1,400 gold. Is this a Midas? I really hope not. I really hope not. I feel like that'll gimp him so much. I mean, it'll create a scenario. Oh, hold on, Mac. He'll die to Ignite while invisible. All right. So that just happened. But going back to the point I was making on RHCP. If he goes for this Midas, which he did go for the Midas, that's just going to create sort of a power vacuum on the Radiant, where they don't have a Slark to fight with. Speaking of fighting, by the way, Ken's going to go down the top alongside Cortis. They're going to rotate in Mac, but he's already died once, now coming back to this lane with a fresh set of HP and mana. But what's he going to do to this? I mean, Pico, he's got way too much HP, way too much regen to really worry about anything, and the rest of them were way too far away. But finishing up this point, I've been interrupted every time, so maybe I can keep the action going. Yeah, this Midas, he's going to feel so weak for the next 10 minutes, and by that time, he starts getting his, the gold starts paying off, and the experience starts to make an impact. His team's going to be way too far behind to back him up, so maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but for right now, it's starting to look like Dire pulling pretty far ahead, and the Radiant having a lot of trouble figuring out how to deal with it. If they want to do it, it's got to be off the back of Ken finding that mechanism, which he isn't going for, by the way. Or maybe Shadow Fiend's going to mech. I don't think either of them are going for it, but they both need to get their items and get kills. And speaking of getting kills, Arakune, he's going to find one for himself. Goes ahead, brings down Mac, and will now find Cortis. Actually doesn't get that one, but is still within range to pull a decent amount of golden experience off of it. So with 4 in the top lane, all Ken can do is sit in the sidelines, but they thought he was they thought he was in. How the hell did Ken get in here? Oh wait, no. Maybe there's a juke path? Yeah, there's a juke path that'll go right through. So Smoke of Deceit, he'll put himself into the Cold Embrace, and that leaves RHCP. I mean, once again, no mana, 40 seconds on that Hand of Midas. He's, I think he's dead. In fact, I'm 90% sure he's dead. 100% now, but Arakune will find another kill, and another kill, another Midas. Pow will go for one this time. Their comeback Midas is... I guess you have to do it at this point. It's 13 minutes into the game, and your team is accumulated a 1,300, or 3,000 rather, net worth, a disadvantage, 3,000, about 4,000 experience. So you really need some way to facilitate that comeback, and sometimes teams will buy smokes and go for pickoffs, other times teams will just buy a mass Hand of Midases, and looks like it's going to be the latter. Not a mech in sight, not a way to protect your allies. None of these... Cortis is the only one with defensive capability, so he's the only one that can... He's the only one that can TP to a lane and protect whoever is getting... or seeing the aggression, but he's not carrying a TP, so that point is null and void. I don't know, it's not looking like the Radiant have any real way to deal with the aggression being put on by the Dire, and they're not itemizing to have any stake in the matter, so it's looking like this might be a slow burn for the Dire. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but maybe I'm right. There's always that possibility. Ericune, what is he going for? What has he got? He's got a Helm of the Iron Will, which is most certainly becoming a Veil of Discord. I guarantee it. I do not think Lions go Armlet nowadays, although I'd like to be wrong on that one. I'd love to see an Armlet Lion. I just don't think it's going to happen. He did pick up a Drums, though, so maybe he is going right-click build. That could be interesting. If not Lion, Helm of the Dominator could be a nice little pickup for him. RHCP doesn't have a leap for 6 seconds. In fact, has gone neither max Q or W. Instead, he's gone for kind of a half-ass in both, and looks like he's going to go down a Winter's Curse to stop him from going into the Shadow Dance, and then, well, the rest is history. Turn him into a pig and give him a colonoscopy. JG and Pico, meanwhile, in the top lane, will try to bully down the top tier 2 tower, though. Not quite sure they'll be able to go the distance for quite a while. Meanwhile, speaking of bully, it's going to be Smoking to see an Ericune on the bottom tier 1 tower. Good use of Cold Embrace to keep the creep being targeted by the tower alive and keep the tower from doing any real damage to the creep wave. The Walking Courier will bring a full bottle to a POW, who will then bottle Crow using the very same Walking Courier, who will be moving at a grand total of 245 movement speed. Let's look at this for a second. Someone's got to play the Jeopardy music here. That is a slow pig. Or, sorry, warthog. I'm sorry to, I don't know. Whatever. JG, tracked, swapped, raised, and killed. So, Ken will get a kill, a nice track kill. Maybe this is where the Radiant start pulling themselves back in. The track kills being pretty important. So it looks like that's going to be maybe the name of the game. If they can find another kill on Ericune, that could be huge. As he's alone, sitting here in the mid. They need a stun to initiate out. Cortis, he's got a magic missile. He's going to throw it out, going to try to. But maybe a little bit early to start walking forward, as Mac was not able to get the slow off. And so now Hammer will make his way into the lane. Pico and Smoke of Deceit. Are they going to smoke? No, but they've got a Chem and a Hastrune on the Wyvern. Oh boy, they know Mac's there. And, okay, Mac knows they know he's there, but can't do anything about it. And comes the Winter's Curse. Are they going to spend a finger? They don't even have enough mana, though, so they don't need... It is an Armlet! It's an Armlet! Really? Oh boy, Cortis. Yeah, he's dead as well. It's going to be a Requiem coming from the trees, but... Okay, I don't even know what that means. I imagine it's some flame, but I'm not Russian, so that just looks like password has been unlocked to me. That's what that looks like. Dirty English speaker, I guess. So yeah, Hand of Midas. Armlet of Mortigian. I don't even know where Hand of Midas comes from that one. We've got 2 Hand of Midases in this game. That's probably where I got confused. But God, what is he even saying? As I want someone to come to me after this game and please tell me what this is, because I'm interested now. I kind of want to see the cultural flame that goes on. Oh, speaking of flame, Ericune stepped too close to the fire. He's got a finger of death, but is not going to spend it. Instead, he goes down. Interestingly enough, the team is not ahead by that much, considering they're ahead by 10 kills, only a 5,000 gold lead, which led to only 366 gold going the way of Ken for that kill. A very, very important kill. Only gives 366 gold. And he actually has died before, so that's, I guess, where his kill spree gold went, if he even had one, with that bounty. DD, meanwhile, on Pico there. Carry Ogre, I think. He's going for a Bloodstone with that Soul Ring and Soul Booster. They should call it a Soul Stone. I really think they should. It's a Soul Ring and a Soul Booster building into a Bloodstone. Where does that make sense? I just don't know anymore. We've got Ignite here in the mid lane, pushing it out. The tracks are starting to fly. JG has got the flare on his back. You can see how much gold he's got, 862 to his name. But looks like they can't really do anything about it. Even though they're getting the tracks off, they're only finding the odd pickoff where someone just steps a little bit too far forward and gets punished. Maybe we see a full-on fight, though, as we're having a bit of tinder drying out here in the Radiant jungle. Mac will throw out the first track now onto Pico. Do they find him, though? Cordis is looking for something. He's got the swap range now out with a magic missile. Can't even get it off. Pico's too fast with the fire blast. Now they get it. The minus armor. He's still pretty tanky, but you only go so far. Arakuna, in the meantime, will get a trade-off onto a POW. Actually gets more gold for that, despite the track. Winter's Curse now out into Cordis, and Ken will bring him down. Actually, no, Hammer will bring him down, but Ken helps out quite a bit. And now, getting all of his mana drained, cannot pop any more orbs. He'll just get brought down to some raw right clicks from the Dire team. Even though all three of them are tracked, it'll be a 1 for 3. And the Dire will pull out ahead and can now start pushing down the bottom lane, as the only one defending it is Mac. Pretty squishy, by the way. And Lion, 60 seconds now on his Finger of Death. That'll be down to 40 seconds on his next level up, which is coming pretty soon. He's crossed the level 12 threshold, which is one of the harder ones in the game as far as the 1 through 16 goes. So, I mean, the previous level 10 to 11, or sorry, yeah, level 10 to 11 is like 600 experience. 11 to 12, 2,200 experience. Now it's just 800. Like, the disparity is huge. It's so hard to get to level 12, but once you do, you kind of cruise your way to 16. Cordis gonna get swapped back past his tier 1 tower, taking a bit of damage, but they're not doing any real follow-up. As POW's gonna go in for the Requiem combo onto Akune, but misses it pretty substantially. Only hits about 3 of those raises out onto him. Now the Cold Embrace will lock him in to raise range, but he can't follow up on even more. The Radiant just have to back off. Now there's going to be the Ice Shards, but it is going to be the Frost Blast, or sorry, the Chain Frost. But the Frost Blast will clean him up. And now JG, finishing up that mechanism, can go ahead and sacrifice a creep just to pull out enough mana for it. And the Dire will start knocking on the high ground. Pretty interesting that they're able to do so at 21 minutes into this game, but it's 19 kills to the 6 of the Radiant. So it looks like RHCP will do what he can. He's picked up his Shadow Blade, so the gold is starting to roll in. I mean, he's 3rd highest in the net worth, 2nd highest is the Shadow Fiend, and these Hand of Midases are going to make that kind of edge a little bit quicker and quicker into the Dire's Radiant's favor, but Arakune is still holding on to the top spot with 8,700 net worth on that mid line. And Windranger trailing a little bit further behind with the 7,500, though she's got an Aghanim Scepter, a very nice pickup for this Windranger to have. It's like 80%, or yeah, it's 75, no, 85% damage you've got, so I was close. 85 with Aghanim Scepter and a level 2 ultimate. At level 3, it's 0%. RHCP, meanwhile, looking for Arakune, but doesn't have the mana. You see him switched into Intelligence Treads, but even that is not enough to give him that pounce. The Int Treads, I imagine, were to allow him to cast the Shadow Blade not too long ago. So Dire will stage a little push going through the mid lane, but it's not really doing all that much, but putting a little bit of pressure. It's a slow siege, if anything. Meanwhile, Mac trying to pull a little bit of net worth out the top lane, has an Urn of Shadows, which is nice. Ken will push out the bottom lane, only the Shadow Blade to his name still. In fact, are we mass Shadow Blading? No, we're not. Only RHCP and Ken will pick up their Shadow Blades. Mac, he's got kind of an inbuilt Shadow Blade with his Ghost Walk or Shadow Walk, or yep, Shadow Walk. Track out on the Hammer, they make their way up to the top lane. They'll go after the top tier 2 tower. Should be some free, easy gold for them. Meanwhile, the Radiant are still kind of compressed here into their mid lane. Can't make too much happen. And it's unfortunate too. I mean, with these Midases, they really want to just be able to go out, mass farm their jungle, push out all 3 waves, and try to make use of these Midases as well as their natural farming mechanisms. But they just can't find the space to it. As a top tier 2, look at that. It's just getting completely and utterly annihilated. Erakoon's closing in on level 16. Hammer also is getting very close. And this is going to be trouble for the Radiant. I mean, how long can they hold on to this when all Erakoon has to do is walk up and finger you, and you're just dead? Speaking of finger, he's not going for the Axe build. He has picked himself up a Hyperstone, maybe into the Moonshard, perhaps. Could be also the... Well, could be a lot of things. He's just going to go out and blow up a POW. Same thing with RHCP. Both cores are down without buyback. Even though the GG call is coming out, I'm not sure this is the end of the game just yet. It looks like the Dire are diving in a little bit deep, but they've got 4. 4 dead. They could mega them, right? Okay, they can't mega. Tier 2 is still available on the bottom lane, but they're going to bring down 1, maybe even 2 sets of racks off this fight. And really, where did the Dire go for, or where did the Radiant go after this? I mean, they've got a wave now pushed in with a reduced gold bounty. Perhaps on 2 lane. No, I don't think they can go for the 2nd lane. They can try, but maybe the most they get is that tier 3 tower.
Dire's mid tower's nothing now.
And bam. Bam is the correct word here. I know it's not actually bam, but I want to believe it is. Pico being swapped very close to the fountain. It looks like he could be dead. The Viper Strike, though, is not going to be followed up with much more, as no right clicks, but it looks like they still finally bring him down. As Dire's courier will die. Yes, it will. So Dire are doing that classic throw maneuver where they dive a little bit too far, and now they're getting punished for it. JG looks like he'll get latched up, creating a prime target with the Cold Embrace, and yeah, JG is dead. 414 gold going the way of the Radiant. They lose their top racks, but they get a couple of kills in return, and it looks like with those kills, they'll pull themselves up a 1,400 gold swing. Not huge, but still pretty substantial. I mean, that's a quarter of the way to a major item. RHCP could be in a bit of trouble. Akun is there. Finger of Death. Does he have it? No. Quarters will pop out a magic missile. He'll self-Yules. Does he have a blink? No. Then comes the Requiem. Not even a self-Yules. That was a Yules by a POW. Okay, that's interesting. He is going for the Assault Cuirass as Akun's down now. Pico might be down for a 2nd time. Oh, boy. 300... Oh, man, it's almost too perfect. 322 gold going the way of the Radiant. Both will...
Dire's mid tower could use a little
Okay.
help.
Yeah, 3,700 gold swing off that one. That's a little bit more respectable. We can take a look at the graphs just to get a better idea for what just happened. Boom! That's a throw if I've ever seen one. Golden experience now about halved in both of their extremes, so looking like the Dire might start losing their grip. A POW will take the top net worth spot in the game, though. Hammer is closely following with about 10,000. Lion also at the 10,000, the 5 digits, and RHCP. In fact, 4 very closely bunched net worths. As maybe it drops a little bit, as a POW will be just blown up in his own jungle. And Hammer will be close in for that one. Takes the top spot, and he'll now look for more. Can he find Ken? Looks like he doesn't have the gem, so he won't be able to. Who's got the gem? I guess is the game we should be playing. Like hockey. Smoke of Deceit will still have that gem. Still's got it after all this time. So maybe if they can get a little bit of vision, they will be able to find Ken, but they'll move a little bit too far past him to make that call.
Trouble.
Bomb tier 2 tower. Well, that's going to go down very soon. Erakoon, meanwhile, he's about the 500 to 600 gold away from that Assault Cuirass. Hammer throwing the fiery bolts from hell at the tower as he's got that Desolator ready to go. The minus armor. Now an MKB, it looks like. Could be a Basher, though I'm not exactly sure that's where you want to go from here. So the tower is now taking a bit of siege damage as Hammer makes his way up onto the high ground. Yep, look at that tower melt. Eriku's close by, doing a fair amount of damage as well, as he's got that armlet toggled here. RHCP's close by, though. They've got the gem. They see him. They'll blow him up. He's down without buyback. Now Apau is also going down without buyback, and another one team fight, another Rax, and the Dire, they have not thrown this game. Would you look at that? Or maybe they haven't. They're diving a little bit far for this one. Eriku, yeah, okay. Okay. Oh, no, never mind. They've gotten their Rax. They got what they came for. Maybe lose a little bit more than they wanted to, but in the end, the Rax will drop in. Mac actually gets the gem, so the Dire no longer control the Vision game. Instead, Bounty Hunter will hold on to that. Looks like a Lincoln Sphere also will be built by him. One lane of Rax standing, the easiest lane of Rax to get, as the top and bottom are really the ones you want to focus on. Those are the ones that create the most advantage for you, given that they're the hardest to push out. I mean, look at the top lane. What does Radiant do to push it out? They've got to push through uncharted territory, past the river, into the Dire's own territory. That leaves them open to so much as far as getting picks or getting ganked goes, and same thing with the bottom, though. It is a little bit easier since you can control your own jungle. You can't really control the enemy's jungle when you're this far behind, but the mid lane, and also to counter Rax, I mean, that's the next point. You got to go past all this uncharted territory just to get to the Rax, let alone bring it down. Look at the distance you've got to cover to do so. I mean, it's almost twice the distance you have to cover just to get down the mid lane for both the outer lanes. So the mid is the easiest to counter Rax. It's also the easiest to get the first Rax. You don't want to go for the easiest. You want to go for the ones that create as much advantage for you as possible. That's what they've done. So that opens up the Roshan pit, which now has a nice little Santa hat just because of when I'm casting this game. And the Dire, upon picking up this Roshan, should just be able to park themselves in the mid and slow push this one down. It's not really a tough game for them from here on out. You just got to not get picked off and not delay the game at all. So they'll do just that. Make their way to the mid and then slow push with this one out. If you lose your top tier 2, you don't really care, though. I think maybe they'll put a little bit of pressure into defending this one. Only it seems Smoke of Deceit will make his way up to the north.
The Dire went and fortified their structures.
But meanwhile, in towards the mid, it's Eriku. He's gotten very close to level 16. Hammer has got his. And the MKB will be coming out very shortly for the Wind Ranger, making their way up to the high ground. A lot of damage going to be coming away from the Dire, and yep, tier 3 will melt. The Rax will melt. And that, I mean, that's just the last nail in the coffin for the Radiant, as it looks like they'll go in for their final stand out onto Eriku, but they're not able to kill him just yet. He'll armlet toggle himself up, but it really was the mech to be the saving grace for him. Cordis will go down. Kent taking a lot of damage, but it looks like he will still survive. They've got no more gem to get good vision of him. The armlet toggles continue for Eriku, but he's going to drop very low on this toggle. He's got to be very careful that the Viper doesn't get a lucky hit on him. And it looks like RHCP will go for it, the quick and backstab. And Hammer will also go down, though he's got the Aegis Immortality. Viper strike out onto Pico as Kent getting a little bit too far forward. He'll go down to what seems to be an Aghanim Scepter from the Ogre Magi. And yeah, the last tier through tier 4 will go down, and the Ancient steady pickings for the Dire team. It looks like that's going to be it. Congratulations to the Dire for winning this one. Well played to them. Great support. Yep, I do agree. 4 supports for the Dire team will all have helped Hammer become the carry. Support, you won the game. Okay. Nope, that actually does seem like proper grammar. It has a veil of not, but I don't know. Anyway, Dire will take this one. The Radiant maybe have to go back a little bit to their own drawing board and figure out what went wrong. It came off the back of all their lanes pretty much losing, and itemization wasn't quite on point. Exact opposite for the Dire. So again, well played. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, you can like, favorite, subscribe, that whole YouTube schmooze. If you want your own replay casted, you can go ahead and check out the description of this video. $10 a request, whether it be live or a replay. I don't discriminate. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all for the next replay.
On.